My name's Bob Lazar. I'm known for working at a classified base known as S4 out in the Nevada desert near Area 51. And there, we reverse engineered alien spacecraft.
Bob Lazar's claims about reverse engineering alien spacecraft at a secret military facility have captured the world's imagination for decades. Recently, he revealed a terrifying secret about the true nature of these extraterrestrial technologies that we were never supposed to know. What is this earth-shattering revelation that could destroy our understanding of physics and reality itself? What price is Lazar paying for this bombshell disclosure, and what implications does it hold for humanity's future? Join us as we discuss the last and most terrifying secret Bob Lazar shared that we are not supposed to know. Number 1. Bob Lazar exposed alien activities at Area 51. Let's start with the man himself, Bob Lazar. His story reads like a sci-fi thriller complete with government conspiracies, alien technology, and a whole lot of mind-bending revelations. Back in the late 80s, Lazar burst onto the scene, dropping bombshell claims that rocked the world of UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists alike. According to him, he wasn't your average Joe. He was a physicist who had been handpicked by the government to work on a highly classified project at a mysterious facility near the infamous Area 51. Now, Area 51 was already shrouded in secrecy, but Lazar's stories took things to a whole new level. He claimed that there was an even more secretive site called S4, nestled within the mountains near Area 51, where the real action was happening. This place was dedicated to reverse engineering extraterrestrial spacecraft and technology that had been recovered by the government. Can you even imagine the scene? A team of top scientists and engineers huddled together in a hidden underground base, tinkering with alien gadgets and trying to figure out how they work. It's like something we only see in a science fiction movie.
My name's Bob Lazar. I'm known for working at a classified base known as S4 out in the Nevada desert near Area 51. And there, we reverse engineered alien spacecraft.
But Lazar didn't stop there. He went on to describe in vivid detail the kinds of mind-blowing technologies he had supposedly encountered at S4. We're talking about spacecraft that could defy the laws of physics as we know them, powered by a mysterious substance called element 115 that allowed them to manipulate gravity itself. These things could perform maneuvers that would make even the most advanced military jets look like toys, zipping through the air with mind-bending agility. Lazar also claimed that element 115 was somehow stable in its extraterrestrial form, despite being highly unstable and radioactive in its earthly counterpart. Essentially, he was suggesting that these aliens had somehow figured out a way to tame and harness the power of this elusive element in a way that we mere mortals could only dream of. Lazar's claims were met with a whole lot of skepticism and doubt, both from the government and the scientific community. After all, how could one man have been privy to such earth-shattering secrets?
Now, I had access and was permitted to view and look at the operation of.
But here's the thing. Lazar wasn't just some random crackpot spinning wild tales together to gain attention. He had a background in physics, having studied at prestigious institutions like MIT and Caltech, or so he claimed. He even had colleagues and former co-workers who vouched for his credentials and expertise. Of course, the government wasn't too keen on having one of their supposed former employees spilling the beans on their top-secret operations. According to Lazar, they went to great lengths to try and discredit him, and even went so far as to allegedly try and erase his existence from official records. Imagine living in a world where your birth certificate, school transcripts, and employment history just disappear into thin air, like you were never really there in the first place. It's like something out of a dystopian novel, where the powers that be can just make people vanish at will. But Lazar wasn't deterred. He stuck to his guns, adamant that he was telling the truth about his experiences at S4 and the incredible technologies he had witnessed. And in doing so, he became a sort of folk hero among UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists, a modern-day whistleblower who had pulled back the curtain on one of the government's biggest secrets. Whether you believe Lazar's stories or not, there's no denying that he stirred up a hornet's nest of controversy and speculation. His revelations reignited the debate around UFOs and alien visitations, sparking countless theories and discussions about what the government might be hiding from the public. And let's be real here. Who doesn't love a good conspiracy theory? The idea that there's something out there, something beyond our understanding, hidden away by shadowy government agencies, It's the stuff that fuels our imaginations and keeps us up at night, wondering about the great mysteries of the universe. So, while Lazar's background and credibility may be shrouded in mystery, one thing's for sure. His story has captured our collective imagination in a way that few others have. He's the kind of figure that inspires both awe and skepticism, challenging us to question what we think we know about the world around us. Love him or hate him, Bob Lazar has left an indelible mark on the world of UFO lore and conspiracy theories. Whether his claims turn out to be true or not, his story will continue to be told and debated for years to come, a testament to the enduring human fascination with the unknown. What happens when the most elite aviators on the planet start reporting strange objects defying physics in our skies? You're about to find out the jaw-dropping truth that can't be denied. Let's go. Number 2. If military pilots don't lie, then UFOs and UAP are real. You know how people always joke about UFOs and little green men? Well, for some of the most elite pilots and personnel in the US military, it's no laughing matter. These are people who operate at the highest levels, flying multi-million-dollar aircraft and working with cutting-edge radar systems. Not exactly the type you'd expect to be spinning wild tales about weird objects in the sky. But that's exactly what's been happening for decades, stretching back to the 1940s. Highly trained Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps pilots have been reporting encounters with strange craft that seem to defy conventional physics and aerodynamics. These are objects with no visible means of propulsion that can perform mind-bending maneuvers, accelerating and changing direction instantly, descending tens of thousands of feet in an instant. That kind of thing. At first, you might be tempted to brush it off as someone's overactive imagination or a simple case of misidentification. These sightings keep piling up, documented by multiple sensors, radar, infrared cameras, and eyewitness accounts from veteran pilots. Too many to just sweep under the rug as lies. Take the case from November 2004 off the coast of San Diego. On a routine training mission, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, both with over 20 years of experience at the time, encountered a strange oblong white object hovering over the ocean. It was about 40 feet long, with no visible markings or means of propulsion. As they tried to approach, it reacted to their presence, bolting away at incredible speed before disappearing. Or the incidents in 2015 off the East Coast, captured on gun camera footage from Navy FA-18 Super Hornets. The pilots tracked bizarre objects, appearing as glowing oblong shapes on their imaging systems, performing maneuvers that strained credibility. In one case, an object is seen plunging from around 60,000 feet down to about 20,000 feet in less than a second. As one pilot exclaimed, audibly shocked, "There's a whole fleet of them. These aren't isolated cases either." According to intelligence officer Luis Elizondo, who headed up a secret Pentagon program investigating UAPs, the U.S. government database alone contains somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 reports from credible military sources, and those are just the documented, official cases that made it through the red tape. Who knows how many other sightings have gone unreported or unrecorded over the years? Of course, these kinds of accounts raise all sorts of questions that are deeply unsettling, even for the pilots and personnel involved. If these objects exhibit technologies and capabilities far beyond what we understand is possible, what does that say about our comprehension of aerodynamics and physics? Are we dealing with ultra-advanced aircraft or drones from Russia, China, or some other foreign adversary? Or could these things potentially be extraterrestrial? You can imagine the horror of a Top Gun pilot coming to grips with that last mind-bending possibility. Men and women who have attached their identity and life's work to defending American airspace are forced to grapple with the idea that we might be sharing the skies with intelligently controlled vehicles of unknown origin. Vehicles that can run circles around our most sophisticated aircraft as if they were toys. No wonder there's been such a concerted effort over the decades to downplay, debunk, or outright bury these UAP incidents. It shakes the very foundations of our technological supremacy as a nation. It opens up existential realms that are simply too scary for the military-industrial complex to want to go there officially. The culture of denial and ridicule around this issue has been perhaps the biggest hurdle. Highly trained observers are essentially told to keep their traps shut or risk being ostracized and branded as nuts if they dare report what they've witnessed. Who wants their career and reputation set aflame on the bonfire of public mockery? It's the kind of taboo that ensured the phenomenon stayed buried in the shadows for decades. spawning countless conspiracy theories and giving rise to an entire subculture of UFO obsessives. All because the mainstream world couldn't handle the truth. Things are happening in our skies that we cannot explain or understand. That's finally started to change in recent years, as more and more credible UFO witnesses have mustered the courage to go public. Thanks to the efforts of figures like former intelligence officer Luis Elizondo, who headed up a secret Pentagon program investigating UAPs, and Senator Harry Reid, who managed to secure funding for official study in the early 2000s. Their persistence, along with leaked gun camera footage from naval encounters, have dragged these issues into the mainstream spotlight in a way we've never seen before, making it impossible for the powers that be to continue brushing it under the rug with a dismissive wink and chuckle. Now we're in a place where even reserved, mainstream institutions like the New York Times are covering this stuff seriously on their front pages, forcing a long overdue conversation about just what the hell is going on in our airspaces and what it means for national security. Of course, the eternal skeptics will continue to scoff, grasping at ludicrous alternative explanations like weather balloons and visual glitches, as if the most elite aviation professionals on the planet could be that easily fooled. Those tired old bromides just won't cut it anymore when you've got hard radar data, multiple visual confirmations, and jaw-dropping video evidence staring us all in the face. The fact is, we've reached a point where the paradox at the heart of this issue can no longer be ignored or easily rationalized. There are objects of unknown origin operating with utterly unexpected flight characteristics that continue to be routinely observed by militaries across the globe. Speculate all you want about what that could mean or where they might come from. Those are hurdles for another day. For now, let's just accept that reality and start asking the hard questions. What are we willing to do going forward to finally pry open this particular Pandora's box? Can we muster the scientific curiosity and institutional courage to pursue this mystery without fear or preconceptions? Are we ready to rip away the stigma surrounding this topic once and for all? Those who have already glimpsed the unvarnished truth about UAPs certainly hope so, because there's no putting that genie back in the bottle, no matter how uncomfortable or weird it makes us feel. The universe is indeed a strange, strange place. Best we all just buckle up and get ready for one hell of a wild ride. Deep inside the Pentagon's maze, there existed a secret program studying one of the world's greatest UFO mysteries known to men. Let's expose the secrets and bombshell evidence buried in America's real-life X-Files. You won't believe your eyes. Number 3. Terrifying footages from the secret office. Just imagine. It's the early 2000s, and somewhere in the Pentagon, a small, obscure office has been set up to study one of the most bizarre topics you could think of: UFOs. Not your typical brief, right? This wasn't some wacky proposal dreamed up during a late-night X-Files binge either. It was an actual, officially funded program operating right under the noses of the American public and most of the government itself. That program was called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, and it ran from 2007 to 2012, spearheaded by a career intelligence officer named Luis Elizondo. Thanks to additional behind-the-scenes efforts by politicians like Senator Harry Reid, it managed to secure a modest $22 million in annual black money funding from the Department of Defense. Now you might be wondering, what kind of Mulder and Scully situation was this? A worn-out office tucked away in some sub-basement, staffed by tinfoil hat-wearing freaks poring over blurry UFO photos and ducking under the beam-me-up alien caller ID? Well, not quite. In Elizondo's words, AATIP brought a level of rigor and emphasis on hard data that was sorely lacking in previous UFO studies. For the first time, Uncle Sam was applying genuine counterintelligence tactics and methods to get to the bottom of this puzzling phenomenon. No more witness interviews or anecdotes. They wanted cold, hard facts from credible military sources. That meant painstakingly gathering data from Air Force pilots, Navy aviators, radar operators, and essentially the sharpest, most experienced aviation minds in the U.S. Armed Forces. Those who could be counted on to deliver sober, technical observations unaffected by any form of gullibility. Things like carefully documented UFO or UAP sightings, gun camera videos, radar trackings, and so on. The kinds of proof that could stand up to intense scrutiny. Just so you know, the encounters they uncovered were nothing short of jaw-dropping. These are spherical objects, brilliantly white or giving off a subtle glow, with no visible propulsion systems. capable of rampant accelerations and course changes that defied conventional aerodynamics. Take the case from November 2004 off the San Diego coast, when Navy pilots led by Commander David Fravor tracked a 40-foot spherical object resembling a giant tic-tac. Fravor recounts pulling his FA-18 alongside the object, only for it to instantly accelerate and render his plane an insignificant speck in the distance before blipping off the radar completely. Or the mind-bending footage captured by FA-18 weapon sensor operators off the East Coast in 2015. In one clip, pilots can be heard excitedly reacting to what appears to be a whole fleet of circular craft, some plunging from near space down to lower altitudes in the blink of an eye. The data collected by AATIP revealed a staggering number of credible UAP or UFO incidents spanning decades of military aviation, totaling somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 encounters. These consistent and bizarre sightings made explanations like weather balloons or errant flight tests seem implausible. Despite the compelling evidence, Elizondo faced opposition at the Pentagon in his efforts for transparency. Higher-ups dismissed the issue, considering it an embarrassment rather than taking it seriously. Even after multiple attempts to brief the Secretary of Defense directly, the program's findings were met with bureaucratic resistance. By 2017, with AATIP facing funding cuts and a lack of institutional support, Elizondo reached his breaking point. He resigned from his position, giving up a successful career in intelligence to bring the information to the public. His goal was to compel disclosure and promote critical thinking on a topic that had been neglected for too long. It's important to note that Elizondo was a career counterintelligence operative, not a conspiracy theorist. Yet he saw the UAP issue as a significant security vulnerability, if not an outright threat, that the government was neglecting to address. This begs the question, what did the Pentagon's investigations uncover about these strange airborne objects that were deemed so unacceptable, so disruptive to the established order, that they had to be concealed? What secrets lie within those classified files that have the military-industrial complex so determined to maintain secrecy? The truth, as they say, remains elusive, hidden away in the archives and digital databases of secretive government agencies. However, thanks to Elizondo's courageous actions along with the efforts of politicians like Harry Reid and investigative journalists willing to challenge the status quo, we may be on the verge of uncovering some answers. Get ready to have your understanding of physics and aerodynamics ruined. These UFO encounters documented by the military exhibit capabilities that should be utterly impossible. Keep watching. Number 4. UFO movements that no one can explain. One of the most mind-blowing and unsettling aspects of the UFO-UAP phenomenon isn't just the objects themselves, but the way they seem to violate the laws of physics and aerodynamics as we understand them. We're talking about flight behavior so unexplainable that even the most seasoned pilots and technicians can do little more than shake their heads in shock. No visible means of propulsion, reckless anti-gravity maneuvers, and wild velocity fluctuations from a dead stop to thousands of miles per hour in an instant. Observational data pouring in from military sources shows these unknown aerial phenomena routinely pulling off stunts that would tear conventional aircraft apart or squash any biological occupants into human pudding. On the lower end of the spectrum are UAPs displaying benign hovering or slow undulating movements, with no visible engine exhaust or wings to keep them aloft. While bizarre in itself, these are overshadowed by more extraordinary encounters. One such encounter occurred in 2004 off the California coast, witnessed by the USS Princeton. Radar operators tracked multiple unknown objects descending from high altitudes. Fighter pilots managed to visually confirm one of these objects, a 40-foot spherical craft nicknamed the Tic Tac UFO due to its distinctive appearance. Initially, Commander David Fravor's team thought it might be a secret drone. However, the object exhibited physics-defying capabilities beyond any known man-made craft. According to the pilots, the Tic Tac could accelerate and maneuver with such intensity that it made their F/A-18F Super Hornets, designed for extreme aerial maneuvers, seem insignificant by comparison. Similar remarkable feats were captured on gun camera footage from other naval encounters off the eastern seaboard in 2015. The videos depict strange shapes or luminous objects descending erratically from high altitudes at incredible speeds, with one object plunging an estimated 60,000 feet toward the ocean in a single second before hovering gently. Even more unsettling was the casual manner in which these UFOs seemed to toy with the FA-18 pilots attempting to track them. They would dart off at unimaginable speeds only to effortlessly reappear on the other side of the fighter craft, as if reminding the humans of their insignificance and powerlessness. In another widely analyzed clip, sensors locked onto one of these peculiar round objects as it gently rotated in midair, causing atmospheric distortion of waves. Some speculate this could support theories that the craft was utilizing powerful electromagnetic or anti-gravity fields to maneuver, essentially bending space-time around them. It's truly mind-boggling stuff when you stop to think about it. Yet, this seems to be the pattern of these completely abnormal invasions, surpassing our understanding of aerodynamics and venturing into realms that even our brightest scientific minds struggle to comprehend. Experienced commercial pilots have reported similar encounters with unconventional airborne objects, moving far too quickly to be any known aircraft. In one instance, such an object paced a jumbo jet on a transatlantic flight for over 800 miles before vanishing with an extraordinary burst of acceleration. Meanwhile, the U.S. Air Force has repeatedly detected unknown aerial targets on radar and visually, performing maneuvers that defy the capabilities of known aircraft. These include descents of over 80,000 feet in 8 seconds. For comparison, an F-16 flying at top speed would require over 20 miles to recover from a much shallower descent of just 20,000 feet. It's difficult to fathom an engineering configuration that could withstand such forces, let alone the occupants enduring such extreme conditions. Yet, telemetry data and instruments consistently capture UAPs effortlessly executing these maneuvers, pulling G-forces and making directional turns that would be fatal to any organic pilot on board. This raises the possibility that these anomalous drones, probes, or craft may not be manned by biological entities at all. It's an even wilder notion that they could be some form of artificially intelligent probes rather than conventionally piloted craft. However, despite compelling evidence, skeptics and orthodox scientists remain convinced in their skepticism. Within their bubble, if an explanation doesn't neatly fit into conventional paradigms like swamp gas or temperature inversions, they dismiss eyewitness accounts as mistakes or blame instrument malfunctions. It's an almost cult-like conviction that anything extraordinary is inherently impossible. Yet in 2022, NASA itself felt compelled to rigorously study UFO data after the accumulation of first-hand accounts from many of their personnel, including audio and visual recordings that left them baffled, all with the pronouncement that there were enough credible sightings that the phenomenon needs to be properly explored and any potential safety risks better understood. It may be the truest indication yet that the scientific mainstream can no longer continue casting a blind eye to this mystery. The feats we've recorded from these UAPs represent a baffling Rubicon, straining our grasp of physics, propulsion, material science, and energy generation to their absolute breaking limit. They are not just demonstrating flight capabilities we cannot currently explain, but performances that, as far as we can currently comprehend, should not even be possible given our existing scientific knowledge. Period. Either these sightings are extremely sophisticated tricks intentionally designed to mimic impossible physics, or we are dealing with technologies and engineering wonders that are quite literally so advanced that they stretch our understanding of our reality in an almost existential sense. And if those two options make your brain start leaking out of your ears, then you're getting a taste of how military personnel and agencies have been grappling with the unsettling implications of this phenomenon in earnest. Because no matter how you slice it, the performance envelope we are routinely observing shatters the laws of aerodynamics as we know them to be finite and unbreakable. The boundaries of human knowledge surrounding aviation and physics are officially in need of redrawing. The only remaining question is whether we have the courage and intellectual integrity to pursue those answers, even if they threaten to upend our most fundamental assumptions about reality and technological progress as a species. For decades, the UFO topic was taboo and mocked by the mainstream. But that's all changed now that we have undeniable proof everywhere. The cosmic truth is finally breaking through. Are you ready? Let's find out. Number 5. The disturbing truth about UFO sighting. For much of modern history, the topic of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, remained on the fringes of society, relegated to late-night TV segments, niche web forums, and documentaries that only the most dedicated enthusiasts engaged with. To the mainstream culture, it was seen as a quirky fascination bordering on pseudoscience. Sure, Jokes about little green men and flying saucers were common, but taking UFOs seriously beyond mere entertainment? That was often dismissed as the realm of conspiracy theorists and eccentrics, not suitable for polite conversation. However, those old stigmas surrounding UFOs have been shattered. It's as if a massive meteor crashed through the walls of mainstream skepticism. This shift can be directly linked to a pivotal moment in December 2017, when the New York Times published a groundbreaking exposé revealing the existence of a secret Pentagon program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP. This initiative had been quietly investigating credible UFO incidents and sightings by the U.S. military for years. Backed by official documentation, sources, and most jaw-dropping gun camera footage from U.S. Navy fighter jets, the revelations blew open a Pandora's box that the powers that be had worked tirelessly for decades to keep sealed up tight. Now, the veil was lifting, whether they liked it or not. In a remarkable departure from its usual coverage, the New York Times, an institution known for printing all the news that's fit to print and embodying seriousness for generations, took a decisive stance. The UFO issue, previously relegated to the realms of disreputable pseudoscience or mere punchlines, now warranted serious, front-page attention due to potential national security implications. Following this pivotal moment, the UFO question, or, as the government rebranded it, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, UAP, could no longer be brushed aside casually. With radar data, multi-sensor telemetry, and first-hand testimonies from highly trained pilots and technicians, describing objects behaving in ways seemingly impossible based on our current understanding of physics and technology, the issue demanded serious consideration. This big news caused a huge reaction. News sources across all viewpoints reported heavily on this newly accepted controversial issue. High-profile politicians and pundits also weighed in, acknowledging the weight of evidence and credibility of the sources involved, thereby compelling the mainstream to confront this enduring mystery. In 2022, even NASA, an organization renowned for its achievements like putting humans on the moon, felt compelled to launch its official study into the extensive UAP data and sightings reported by its personnel and operatives. This initiative complemented ongoing investigations by elements of the U.S. intelligence community, which had been meticulously examining unexplainable incidents recorded by military personnel in recent years. Where all this soul-searching will lead remains an open question, but the genie has been uncorked profoundly. Institutional skeptics often try to brush off UFO sightings with simple explanations like weather balloons or sensor glitches, but the evidence keeps piling up. It's easy to dismiss amateur videos, but what about data from expensive sensor systems on submarines or trained pilots? The once solid wall of cultural ridicule around UFOs is cracking. Even former President Barack Obama has admitted there are sightings he can't explain. This shows a big change in how people think about the issue. Will this lead to breakthroughs in understanding UFOs? We'll have to wait and see. What's clear is that the way we talk about UFOs has changed forever. Too much evidence has come to light for us to ignore it anymore. We've also reached a point where we can't just dismiss this as a silly topic. It's now a serious part of the national conversation, with big scientific and existential questions at stake. Institutions that deal with knowledge can't keep ignoring it. They need to start figuring out what's going on in our skies. And it's not just a few people who are aware of this. It's becoming more widely known that strange things are happening in our airspace, and even top officials can't explain it. Trying to brush this off as a fringe issue isn't going to work anymore. The evidence is too strong, and people want answers. With solid evidence in hand, all of us must keep pushing for open scientific investigation into the UFO phenomenon. We can't afford to ignore this anymore. If we don't keep digging, we risk accepting a huge cosmic mystery right on our doorstep, leaving the darkness unexplored. This issue is incredibly important, touching on everything from national security to cutting-edge science about propulsion and energy. We can't afford to stay ignorant. It's time for the truth to come out and for us to face it head-on. We don't know exactly what that truth is yet, but it feels like it's on the verge of being revealed. This is the only way forward for a species to wake up to realities we can't ignore anymore. The silence surrounding this topic has finally been broken. Now, we must listen to what comes next. Thank you for watching. Comment to share what you think in the comment section below. Remember to like and subscribe to see more videos.